Foldable screens are the future of smartphones. Let's find out if the future starts now for Samsung. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and thank you so much for watching. If this is your first time here, my name is Tony and this is Talkin' Tech. I've had the Galaxy Z Flip here for about a week now, so I feel pretty strongly that I have a good understanding of how the phone works and how to best fit my life. So I feel confident in the ability to give you a good, accurate review. I didn't want to put out a rush video and jump to conclusions, so I really wanted to give the phone a chance and I really wanted to love this phone. So I've taken a lot of time and I'm going to do something a little bit different on this review. Generally, I write a little script and I kind of memorize it and do it without a break, but I tend to forget a thing or two, and I really don't want to do it on this video because I really want to be as accurate as possible. So as you can see, I have a little outline here just to keep me reminding of some of the points that I want to make and just make sure I don't forget something important that somebody is looking to get. So to start, I'm going to start with the specs of the phone. So if you're not aware, which I'm sure most people are that are watching this video, this is a Snapdragon 855 Plus with 256 gigs of memory and 8 gigs of RAM. So that it is a flagship level specs, at least the previous generation that came out in the fall. So it does have high specs, so I do have high expectations for how this phone was going to perform. The next thing I want to cover is going to be the build quality. So when I took this out of the box, I was absolutely impressed. I wasn't sure if the phone was going to feel super plasticky, just because I know they spent a lot of money probably on the folding mechanism itself. But this phone actually feels really solid. So it does have a plastic back. Both pieces are plastic, but it is encased in metal. That was hard for me to get out, but it is encased in metal, and that gives it a solid premium feel, and it is heavy. And it feels like the hinge is nice and solid. I don't know what material is on the hinge, but it feels nice and solid. And even when you open and close it, it is nice and solid. And I don't know if you can hear that or not, but that nice click it's surprisingly satisfying to open and close it. And I've probably been doing it a little bit obsessively, and I would assume some of you might as well if you had this phone. So it does raise some questions about some of the durability of the phone, but I absolutely love the form factor here. You know, I really think that this is going to be the future of smartphones. I made a video last week about kind of harping on big screen phones. And honestly, this is exactly what I expect to keep coming. It gives you the big screen. It's not that I hate big screens. I just hate having a massive phone. I think it's kind of a pain. And this honestly fits super nicely in the pocket. It feels really comfortable. And quite frankly, it protects a lot of the phone. You know, I don't know if you ever work on something, lay on your back, on your stomach, and you get something pressed against it, you know, a car or something like that, and all of a sudden your screen gets cracked. This at least would maybe be the back and your phone would still function. I don't know, and maybe I'm completely off base, but I think it feels like it would be a definite positive here. So the one thing that I don't like about it is the external screen on this. I was really kind of hoping for a full-size screen here that was more similar to like the Razr or what the Fold had on the previous generation. But I mean, it is a screen, and I'll zoom in so you can see it, but it really isn't functional. It really doesn't do anything. Yeah, you can see the time, which I guess is nice, but it doesn't, you know, it can read you your messages, but you can't do anything, and it says open phone to read further notifications. So it's not really a functioning screen, and I'm guessing they cut corners there, but I maybe would have taken an 855 instead of an 855 Plus if it meant I got an external screen that was functional. The next thing is the case here. So it comes with a clear case, and it just slides on. Now, the one negative about this case, and it's really kind of a big one, is it's adhesive. It's got an adhesive strip on here. And the issue with that is going to be not so much it's staying on the phone, but for those of you that have had a clear case in the past, I get a lot of dust under my case, and I probably take it off my phone once or twice a week just to clean it off because it bothers me. You know, it's just lint or whatever from your pocket or from the environment that you're in. And with an adhesive screen, or with an adhesive case, I have to believe that there's a shelf life on that adhesive. So you're not going to be taking it on and off once or twice a week for 6 months, a year, 2 years. And I really kind of expected more out of the Samsung specific case. I assumed that they would be the one that made the best case. Now I'm guessing that there will be some aftermarket solutions that'll probably fix this issue, but coming in the box, I'm a little disappointed. I guess it protects the phone until there are some aftermarket solutions out there. So I guess, you know, I am pretty happy about that as well. So moving on to the inside of the phone here. The screen was much talked about, and I know there was concern about the crease on the screen, and quite frankly, it's not a bother to me. Yeah, it's there and it's pretty noticeable. And maybe this will change after 6 months of use, but it really doesn't interrupt my day. It doesn't really cause any issues. I mean, it's a foldable phone. There is going to be some feel there. It is not a mature technology yet, but it quite frankly, like using it pretty much is non-visible, and I just kind of found it to be a non-factor. Now, as far as the visual part of the screen, I think it absolutely works great. And you know, it's the typical Samsung saturated screen. So you know, basically you get what you're used to. Yeah, it's not 90 hertz or 120 hertz, but I quite frankly think that's a little bit overblown as far as I can tell. Comparing it to my OnePlus, I just don't see, you know, a whole lot of drop off. It is a great screen, especially for the type of phone it is. I think they really kind of are getting closer, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds for it. Now, the one negative thing I'll say about it are the dimensions are kind of awkward. You know, I know it's 21 by 9, but it feels really long and really narrow. Especially comparing to my OnePlus 7 or the S10 Plus, it just feels awkward, and I don't really know why. Maybe it's the bezel that makes the screen feel that much smaller and that much thinner, or much more narrow. But typing on it is weird, doing gestures especially. I know that I've been doing the side gestures, and it's been really hard to get that down, and maybe I'd learn it after 6 months or something. But it seems weird, and I find myself doing unwanted actions quite often on the phone using the gestures. So I'm not sure if there's a better setting for it, or if I should not be using that for those. So I'm not really sure what I'm missing there, or if there's a better way around it. So if you guys have any tips, you know, I'd love to hear it, but I guess I'm kind of at a loss, and I feel like it's a little bit of a disappointment, especially considering the fact that the phone folds. And with it folding, there's no reason to skimp on the size of the screen. You can have exactly as big of a screen as you want. Now, as far as the usage goes on the phone, it's typical Samsung, One UI. You can do the split screen apps, but it's not something I really did. I kind of found it to be a little bit gimmicky, especially with maybe the size of the screen. I don't really see a usage for that. To me, it's more about the folding and the form factor. But it just, it works great. It works fine. It is what it is. I did have some issues with the facial unlock. It seems like it's hit or miss for me. It has a lot of unrecognizable, and I don't really know what that is. I don't know if I have to be having my eyes on it. I know there was a setting for that in there, but I guess, I don't know, it's weird because I felt like it would be faster because it doesn't have the move up camera. But compared to my OnePlus 7, it fails a lot, and that's kind of a big deal, especially when I'm driving. I live in a hands-free state, so I can't be punching in my code even if the smart unlock is on, because sometimes you have to unlock it the first time or whatever for the smart unlock to keep unlocked. So that's kind of a big pain in the butt, and my OnePlus would pop up and unlock it when I'm driving and staring straight ahead. So I'm really kind of disappointed about that. And another thing, and this kind of popped up when I was driving the other day, I had some sunglasses on, and I noticed that the screen was really like refractory. And if you're not familiar with what I'm saying, or maybe I'm saying it wrong, it looks like a rainbow. It has just a ton of colors on it. It was like very, very hard to read. And I don't know if that was just my sunglasses. I tried 2 different pairs, but I don't know if it was specific to my pairs of sunglasses, or if it's just, the screen covering on the screen. But I noticed it was like slightly muted on my OnePlus, so I know it's like, partially the sunglasses, but it was very, very aggressive on this phone. And I found that to be, kind of off-putting, I guess, and really hard to use, especially when I was like doing directions and stuff on a very sunny day. One other thing on the home screen here, when it is unlocked, so I have it set up for notifications to come on my home screen. But one thing I've noticed, and this is different, and again, it might be a setting, so I apologize if I haven't found this setting. It's been a while since I've had a Samsung phone, but when I click the notification, it doesn't just unlock, it doesn't open the screen. I have to swipe again. And I don't really know why that is. That bothers me. I don't know if that's a One UI thing, but for example, on the Oxygen OS, I just click the notification or tap the notification and it automatically brings up the screen where I want. I don't have to unlock it because the phone is already unlocked. I don't have to swipe. Like, I shouldn't have to do another act. So that's kind of annoying. And I found that to be just it's a nuisance. It's not a huge deal, and it's something that's subjective because I'm comparing it to something else. The next thing is I found there to be quite a bit of lag on some of these apps, and I don't know why it is. I don't know if it's specifically the Android messages, and I've had some other issues with that as well, but I'll cover the laggy stuff first. And I see that one specifically because it's probably the app I use the most, but I get a lot of blank screens when I'm switching to that app or opening that app. So I don't know if there's some incompatibilities, but I know I've had some issues with some other apps. Chrome has been kind of slow, and I really shouldn't have those issues with a pseudo flagship phone with decent specs. But one thing I noticed when I was looking through some of the device health is I use almost 6 gigs. I think it's like mostly I think it's like 5.9 gigs out of 8. So I'm using like 75% of the memory, and that's pretty wild. I couldn't believe that. So I don't know if that's the One UI that's using so much memory on this phone, but I guess, I don't know, maybe it would have been better with more memory. I guess we'll find out with the S20 Ultra when that drops, and I am getting that, so I guess I'll be able to compare that as well. One thing that I've noticed with the Gmail app, and I don't know what this is, but my notifications are about an hour late. And I noticed that there's like a battery health thing where it'll sleep apps. So one of the first things I did was like unsleep Snapchat because that had some issues, unsleep Gmail because that just doesn't send me notifications until I either open the app or it like pushes it through, or I read them on a different device or computer, and then all of a sudden they'll just pop up on my phone. So I don't know what I'm missing. I can't find any settings or anything that are different. So that's ultimately kind of weird, and honestly it's kind of a bummer because I do a lot of like off to the side stuff when I'm at work. So I really like to get my personal emails on time, and missing them for an hour is a lot of times not acceptable for me. So I don't really know what to do with that. Maybe you guys have some tips. And then back to the Messages app. So one thing that I use is I use Android specific messages, or Google Messages, I guess. I'm not sure what it's exactly called, but the stock Android Messages app. And the reason I use that is because it has RCS features built in. If you're not familiar with that is, it's basically like the Android version of iMessage. So it doesn't use SMS like other apps. So you have chat features, so you can do like read receipts and all that. Well, not read receipts, but you can see that the message was read, and you can see somebody typing and stuff. I mean, it's kind of superficial stuff, but I prefer the app. I think it works better. I think it looks better, and I'm just used to it. So that's what I use for my default messaging app. Well, I cannot receive messages from anybody that is not in my contacts list, including like my MFA stuff, so multi-factor stuff at work. I have text messages and stuff, especially for work, and it doesn't come to my phone. I have to go into the OnePlus Messages app and open that up and wait 30 seconds for that to refresh and pull in the messages from the Android Messages app. And then I'm able to read them, but I can't do anything out of it unless I make that default app. Well, that doesn't have the features that I want, so that doesn't work. Now, I don't want to blame the phone for this, or Samsung, because I had this issue when I went to OnePlus, and then eventually, like 3 months after I had the phone, it just started working. So I'm assuming that there's probably some update out there from the Messages app that is going to fix this, or I don't know. If you guys have seen this, I ran around with OnePlus and Google last time around, and nobody could tell me anything. But it's kind of frustrating because it's exactly what I use every day. So now, actually using the phone, the practicality is not great. So for example, I was at the grocery store the other day, and I keep my grocery list on here and kind of just check stuff off as I go and kind of just remind myself what I'm looking for and all that stuff. Well, it's great having this phone in your pocket and being able to fold it up. It fits nice, but having to reopen it every time and then unlock it, get to the app, blah, 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 is a pain in the butt. And that's why I wish that they had the external screen, because then I could just keep my grocery list on the external screen and be able to just slip it in my pocket, because it doesn't feel comfortable, or it feels flimsy putting this in my pocket with it open. Like I feel like I'm gonna break it, even if it's not. It's just, one of those things in my mind. So to me, it's a little bit weird, and I feel like the functionality isn't quite there. It's just like, it's just one generation off. I think the next one, I think they improved from the Fold, but I think they could have kept the external screen. It would have been great. Now, the last point I have to make, and I don't want to miss this. Well, actually, there's 2 points. The first one is quick. It's just a speaker, which quite frankly doesn't matter a whole lot, but it's just something that I came across today. I was just like, oh yeah, you know what? I never tested this. The speaker on the S10 Plus is good. The speaker on the OnePlus 7 is good, and the S10 Plus is good. And so I just assumed that this could do a decent speaker, but it sounds very tinny. It's a phone speaker, so it is what it is. That's not a deciding factor. A big thing that I hated right away was the battery life. And at this point, it has improved, exponentially. The first couple of days I had to charge the phone before I left work, and then I'd have to charge it again when I got home. That's not awesome. And now I got, I think I had about 3 hours of screen on time with about 45-50% left. So I probably didn't use it quite as much today, but it seems like it actually works really, really well. And so it's obviously learning my usage, and I'm really appreciative of that. But at the end of the day, honestly, this phone just didn't do it for me. I wanted to love it so much. It's kind of a gimmick still. It's like I said, I think it's still one generation away from being a finished product, but they're getting closer, and I'm glad they're taking the chances, because I ultimately think this is going to be the future of flagship phones, and I'm really excited to see what the next generation of their phones brings. So for me, this is being sold or going back. It just doesn't do it quite yet for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, definitely hit that like button. If you loved today's video, hit that subscribe bell, and make sure you hit that notification bell right next to it so you know when I post my next videos. I will have some S20 Ultra content coming up, including some 5G tests, as well as some drop tests in some name brand cases. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great day.